Welcome to the Future of Tourism podcast. I'm David Peacock. We're talking about conservation.
If you are not credible, you never actually will be influential.
Bring everyone to the table
and imagine their world anew.
The spark for this podcast is a white paper called The Score is Not the Story, published last year by City DNA and SimpleView. It's one of the main outcomes of Viva City, a 3-year sponsorship program by SimpleView and Place Generation. Through Viva City, they generate meaningful insights and strategic guidance for cities across Europe by taking a deep dive into 2 very different urban destinations. Helsinki set itself the ambition to become the most sustainable city in the world, but how do you actually get there? Gothenburg, Sweden, has won the GDS Sustainability Index 7 times in the last decade. How do international frameworks like GSTC and GDS, as well as national government schemes, really help cities become more sustainable? The answers and recommendations are captured by Elke Denz and Bianca Casali in the white paper, which you can still download for free from CityDNA's website if you're curious to explore it further. Good morning, Jukka. Good morning, Katarina. How are you? Where are you? What's it like? Jukka, you're up first.
Oh, good morning, David. Hi, Kat. Well, I'm based in Helsinki. I work for the City of Helsinki at the Tourism and Destination Management Unit. And in fact, it's not morning, it's evening here in the Nordic countries.
Right. I forgot. We're global. Okay. Katarina, having been corrected by Jukka, good evening. How are you? Where are you? What's it like?
I would say good afternoon.
Oh, no.
Since we're not not really in the same time zone. Well,
so you're an hour time zone different?
Yeah.
Okay. Got
from
it.
UK. So any which way, I'm fine. I'm great. And I am sitting in the office of the destination organization of the city of Gothenburg, west coast of Sweden, second city of Sweden. And it's a couple of degrees below zero. Sun is shining from a clear blue sky. Unfortunately, the snow is disappearing, but it might come back. So yeah, it's great.
Sorry, did you say unfortunately the snow is disappearing?
Yeah, because it's gray.
we have so much snow here. You can have plenty of our snow. Okay, the impetus for this podcast was the white paper.
Score is not the story?
Yes, score.
Like
score is not the story.
Score is not the story.
Thank you very much. It was produced in association with Viva City and SimpleView as part of the Viva City project with City DNA. And it was a dive into the idea that indexes have been around now for more than a decade. They've been very great tools in moving us forward. And I'm speaking to 2 people who know this better than anybody. You both mastered the GDS index. And as I said, Katarina, you won it 7 times, and there's some pretty exciting developments around that regarding the UN. We'll talk about that in a minute. Jukka, you set your sights on this some 6 or 7 years ago, and you drove towards it, and you've now won it in 2024-25. I want to ask you, go back to the beginning of this journey for both of you, and maybe Jukka, you could go first. What was it like? What were you focused on? Was it city first and then index? Tell me how that all evolved, please.
I've been, first of all, working for tourism industry more than 20 years, and we've been talking about sustainability issues for the whole 20 years. So it's not anything new for the industry. And luckily, I'm working for the city of Helsinki, which is part of Finland, and Finland is doing a tremendous job in sustainability in altogether. So actually, in the end, my job is quite easy. But starting from when I came to the city of Helsinki around 8 years ago, we were nowhere near as good as now. So it has been a long journey, and we've been working really hard. And to be honest, the GDS Index, we were already part of the GDS Index when I joined the city, but it has been a tremendous tool on the development and showing which way to go. Of course, it's not the only thing, and we are doing lots of things outside of the index as well. But yeah, it's been a learning process and lots of work. But now we are number 1, and really happy about it. Yeah, of course.
It's nice to see you smile, Jukka. Okay, so go back to the beginning of this, and I know it's a little bit before your time. What was the impetus to drill in on the sustainability file? You're going back to what, 2007, 2008?
Yeah, well, in fact, city of Helsinki and Gothenburg as well were part of the few cities that initiated the GDS-Index. And as I wasn't here, but Katarina was, maybe Katarina can explain a bit about the beginning.
So let's do that. Katarina, where were you when you started in this, and what's happened over the last almost decade in this?
Okay, for me personally, where I was in the destination organization. You should know that we have a convention bureau within our organization and also a large department for public events, like supporting and bringing international events to the city. And I was in the events department working with events. And a couple of us realized that the environmental perspective at that time, that was like beginning of 2000, would become a crucial issue for our industry, also in terms of our responsibility and accountability towards residents, for example. So we started to explore that within our department and with those events that we were planning and organizing, and also were part of the international championships that we were running. So that's actually where it started for our in our organization and within the city and the tourism sector within the city.
So there was an early iteration of this, which was just Nordic countries doing
but this was in the city of Gothenburg working with the events, and then around 2010. The ICA Scandinavia chapter started this project with looking into sustainability and Nordic cities working together. And that was sort of the seed for the GDS-Index. And I was part of that. And that was also the time when we started working systematically with the convention side and the suppliers of the convention side. And they are almost the same as the events side, of course, with hotels and restaurants and public transportation, airport, yeah, you name it.
So did either of you anticipate the journey you'd both be on for a decade on this? I mean, you start working on the index, Jukka, you buckle down and you start to really focus on how to measure and report on it. But 10 years later, did either you expect the amount of work it would take, the amount of coordination it would take to make this thing go?
Well, like I mentioned before, it has been lots and lots of work. But one good thing with the GDS-Index is actually that it's a really good motivator for me, but also for the whole team, because it gives a number and a position. It's like a race in a good way. We are competing against our beloved friends in the Nordic countries and around the world. So it gives a goal, and then we work towards it, and it actually gives a really good steps on how to reach it. So it's been a really fun journey, although lots and lots of work.
Well, and just reflecting on that same question, Katarina, the index, what did it provide for you as a tool in the early days, and how have you evolved around it, or how's it evolved around you?
The index has evolved. You have to remember that, because it has had its sort of weaknesses, and now it's more robust and much bigger than when it started. It started for the meetings industry, and now it also includes tourism industry. So we have evolved in a way with the index. And I would say, apart from what Jukka says, which I can just say it's the same for us, but also it is a matter of building capacity within the organization, because you have to put the questions on the right desks and in the hands of the right people within the organization if you want to make a difference. So it's a tool for development, both internally, but also pushing our partners in the city and the city administration as well. So it has been good for us. It's helpful to say, okay, we've decided on this is a tool and the framework that we're going to use for measurement. And then we can say, okay, this is one of the criteria that we have to fulfill, and it's important. So in a way, it has speeded up our journey. We wouldn't be where we are today without it, because we could speed up pointing at the criteria in the index and also saying that these are important things to have on the radar and to tackle.
And we actually report the GDS-Index to our mayor, and it's quite easy for me to then after that go to whoever in the city of Helsinki and say, okay, because this is something that we have to report to the mayor, you will need to find this answer for me, for example, or do this job. So it's a really, really good leverage for me.
All right, and an opportunity to build alliances across the table with different departments and things like that. Okay, so GDS index is the dominant index, and it's been unanimously sort of acclaimed as a force for good. It got us off our butts looking at sustainability, focusing on it, gave us a framework to compare and talk with other people about like things. There are other indexes, and they fall in the same category. So my question to both of you, indexes, do they help you achieve the goal you're after? And at which point do you have to recognize that that's maybe holding you back and now it's about action?
Well, first of all, I can say that there are millions of indexes, but they are very, very different from each other. Let's say, for example, Finland is the happiest country in the world. So that's an index. I'm sure Sweden is there pretty close to us at some point. But it has basically nothing to do with us. We don't insert data into the happiness index. So somebody just does it for us. When it comes to the GDS index, it's loads and loads of work. It takes 3 months to fill the whole index questionnaire. So so many different things. So you can't generalize indexes in that sense. You have to look at each index separately.
And also to us, it has been being a second city without an Eiffel Tower or something like that. It has really helped us to build our brand, being number one for so many times. So that it has helped us in positioning the city globally.
Let's talk about last couple of years. Gothenburg, as I said, 7 years running. It must have been pretty hard to sit atop that seat and wonder when it happens and who's going to be. I think you had a pretty good idea. It was going to be Helsinki chasing up in second, coming around the bend to the post. Helsinki, you win it in 24. You and I talked about this quite a bit before you won it, and I said, what's going to happen when you win it? And we speculated what it would be like when you got home. But you have a year gap now. You won it in 24, and you're winning it again in 25. What was that year like? How was it different than the previous 7 or 8 years? Now that you're sitting atop that, what did it make you think about when you got home? What was important?
Well, of course, we wanted to win it again, but something that we were discussing, I think, with you, David, as well, is that if we would not have won, and I'm sure that Katarina can then elaborate on this, but does it mean that we are worse than the year before? So if we get into the position of 10 or 15 or 20, does it mean something bad for us? Which I don't think it necessarily means that, because I'm just really happy if cities are performing better. We are trying to save the world. That's the main point in the end. So that was something that we were thinking about. But like it was mentioned already before, the index is evolving. There's always new things every year. So there's always room to improve. So it just meant that we continue working and trying to be even better the next year. And then let's see where it gets us.
We had some discussion, you and I, about the idea of leveraging the index more in Helsinki. What are you thinking about in that sense now that you've got 2 under your belt?
We are discussing if it's worthwhile, because it is a lot of work, but especially when it comes to B2B business and congresses and events, the GDS index has turned out to be really valuable for us. So there are lots of people around the world selling Helsinki and saying, come to Helsinki, it's the best place to be. But when we can say that, okay, we are number one in GDS index, or at least in top of the GDS index, it really makes a difference. These days, especially on the B2B side, people are asking for sustainability issues. They are asking for certifications, indices, and other proof of sustainability. And it's a really, really valuable tool. So it brings business for Helsinki, and that's actually also a really good leverage for us to tell the other people, why do we spend all this money and time for the index? It brings business. It's a good business choice.
All right, so Helsinki is celebrating the win of the index in 24, and they're celebrating it again in 25. Do you see the network of people who are paying attention growing?
For sure. Yeah,
Nice.
for sure.
All right, Kat, you unbelievable run, 7 years. I mean, it's like a sport dream. Um, it's over. I guess you were always worried about the same thing Jukka says. What happens? How you slip down the rankings, not just because of slipping, but because it begins to question. What's the index doing for us? What do we use it for? You go into second place. No big deal. Nice move. But in there, you get a phone call, so to speak, from the United Nations who says, we're paying attention to what you're doing. Do you want to tell us about the UN Sustainability Hub and the offer and the opportunity they put in front of you coming out of this?
Oh, wow. Well, this sustainability hub is a new strategy from the UN Office of Partnerships, where they want to put the light on. We have to increase speed in reaching the sustainable development goals. They end at 2030. So this is a way of putting the light on progressive places, destinations, regions, who can show local solutions on global challenges. And of course, our winning of number one, I should say, the number one in the GDS has been important, but also the city's progressive work on sustainability for many, many years. So it's a sort of the total sum of what we have done so far. So, well, that's actually it. We're showing the world what we have done so far, and being really humble about this. But what I do believe is that we need many stories on actions, and no action is too small, and to give hope that you can change. It's possible to transform within our industry, and we are an important industry in that matter because we meet so many people and we invite the world, and we can showcase solutions, and they don't have to be hard, but still make a difference. So I think the highlighting of many actions and many stories is one of the things that we would like to focus on, but also develop new solutions together with other destinations, other cities, other events organizers, and so on. So we have a 2-year collaboration with the UN to start with. We'll see what comes out of that.
Very, very good. Okay, let's wrap the white paper discussion and talk about sustainability going forward for the next 10 years. So just in summary, the white paper doesn't suggest abandoning frameworks. It encourages cities to engage with them in an informed and more context-sensitive way. Progress, it says, progress in sustainability is not solely measured by a position, but also tangible outcomes: clean air, public trust, environmental stewardship, and continued well-being. That's straight from the executive summary. You're both in alignment with that. 4 years ago, actually 5 years ago, the beginning of COVID, sustainability takes on an entirely new mantle. Whereas we were focusing on it prior to that predominantly as environmental sustainability, economic and social sustainability come into play. We see a world that shifts, in my opinion, to a much kinder, gentler position around people and places. That's an amazing shift, and I don't ever want to go back to COVID situations, but there was some amazing growth there. We've seen that growth right up until the last 2 years. In the last year, we have seen a preponderous shift in the sensitivity and willingness to engage things like equity and social sustainability and environmental sustainability. Is it having an impact on you? We live in a world where literally, much to my shock, climate denial has started up and reared its head. We're seeing a shift towards conservative politics that says this isn't one of our main industries. How is that impacting both of you?
Yeah, well, we are not separate from the world, so we have same tendencies as in rest of the Europe or maybe US, but still we are a Nordic welfare state, and we are quite robust against these things. I would say that there are quite a few people in Finland at the moment thinking that, okay, if this is how the world turns at the moment, we have to work even harder for the environment or for the social side. So yeah, at least for me, I can say that I feel that we have to push even harder now when the world is crazy at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jukka. And this is also a huge opportunity for our industry because the foundation of tourism is meeting people and inviting the world, getting to know other cultures, being curious about people. And isn't that something that is also fundamental when aiming for peace? So I mean, this is a golden opportunity for our industry to step up and show the values of humanity in a way.
Wow. Okay, so aren't you both glad then that over the last 10 years you built enough momentum and inertia around this that we roll through this? Can you imagine starting right now in the uncertainty of the current global political milieu on projects like this? So I watch Gothenburg very closely. I watch Helsinki. You have built a groundswell of support. Some days it may not feel like that when you're sitting alone in your office figuring out how you're going to get the mayor to answer you back, or in your case, Jukka, making the mayor answer you back. But if you hadn't done this work a decade ago and you were getting started now, would you turn to it? Would you turn to tools like the index?
Yeah, I think so. Because it helps you, it gives you something to hold on to and points at important parts that you should have in place to build a resilient and robust destination. Maybe depending on where I lived, I might choose other words. Instead of using the word sustainability, I understand that could be sensitive in some parts of the world. So speaking of like long-term resilient or robust destinations, to me it's the same. To me it's the same whether it's sustainable.
Are you telling me one of the lessons you learned along the way was to watch your lexicography so that you didn't disenfranchise people?
Yeah, maybe, but also at this point in time, as we were talking about what's happening in the world, it could also be a good thing for sustainability professionals to sort of sharpen the language and actually pin down what this is all about. Are we talking about circular economy solutions? Is it about like climate efficiency, or is it climate adaptation, or is it accessibility? You get what I'm pointing at, that we are getting sharper and more concrete.
In the world of getting sharper, then, Jukka, AI tools. From a reporting perspective, it makes sense. I don't know if you currently use them to help your reporting. It's a task that AI is well suited to. Agentic AI, as it improves, and I was at a symposium last week in Atlanta, and it blew my mind, the kind of stuff we're doing with agentic AI, which actually is starting to think about and suggest solutions. Either of you on your horizon, the integration of AI and sustainability?
It's a vast question. I think everybody uses AI these days many times per day, whatever they're doing. So it's all around us, and I'm sure it will be even more so in the future. We're not separate from the rest of the world or different from any other industry. So it's quite obvious that it will be dominant. Yeah.
Katarina, have you seen it popping up anywhere?
Yeah, of course, as Jukka said, in different ways. But what I'm curious about is, could we get like these tailor-made action plans or tailor-made indexes or certifications with the help of AI? So my destination, you point out the right things for us to do and sort of certify us from that tailor-made framework.
I will tell you the learning the AI uses to do that is by going to places like Helsinki and Gothenburg and say, what did you do over 10 years and how do we reduce that to a series of reasonable commands? So, okay.
The AI just came to my mind that we are doing something with AI when it comes to climate issues. So we have built this custom AI robot or whatever you call it, where we give, it's actually ChatGPT, and we give it to our tourism companies, and we build it so that it's really easy for them to input all the data that they have, and then the AI helps them to measure their carbon footprint and give suggestions for the company on what should they do for the next steps. So that's basically a custom carbon footprint calculator for the tourism companies.
Well,
that's actually right on the table at the moment.
You brought that up before, Jukka, when we were talking in a different instance, which is the load on SMEs to report on this is one of those bottlenecks. And you've always talked about how do you make it so the loading on the individual businesses is less, so that they're more compliant. And you're saying you think this can help with that.
Yeah, it's way too much stuff for the small companies to report on. I was actually talking with a friend just today that one idea could be that the accounting firms, when they have their online accounting systems, they should take sustainability into their focus and then do VSME or GRI or whatever these frameworks are, and use it in the same system, and then they could actually join with some certification scheme if they want, and then so it would be all in the same system, and then of course use AI there as well, because basically the numbers are quite much the same.
Okay, so you guys are thinking about the future. Okay, good. All right, let's close this one out. First of all, I want to acknowledge and say, Helsinki, Gothenburg, two places that clearly have demonstrated their commitment to the idea that sustainability in tourism is an essential piece of not just the brand, but of the way you want to live in your places. And I applaud both of you for carrying that. You're very humble people, both of you, actually, and it's funny to see you running in front of the pack because you don't spend a lot of time reflecting on that. But I do want you to think about this. The next 10 years are essentially, the breeding ground for what we do in sustainability. I want you to think about Gothenburg. I want you to think about Helsinki, and you've already articulated, this is part of your plans. But what happens in the next 10 years? Give me a sketch. Give me something to motivate me and the stakeholders and the people around the world to understand where you're going to take this in 10 years. I know it's a big question. Who wants to go first? Last question, I promise. Maybe.
Well, there's millions of ways to make money, and tourism is one of them. And I just, for the next 10 years, when I'm working with this, I just hope that tourism is not one of the bad guys in the future. We want to be one of the good guys. And we do know that we have huge problems around the world with flying and the climate and over tourism in some places and so forth. So there's huge amount of work. So what I hope, where maybe I can do a little small influence, is that we stay as one of the good guys, like Katarina explained, that we are force for good and force for peace. And then, that's the way I want to see us in 10 years.
Excellent. Katarina?
Oh yeah, I can only agree with Jukka, but that's also a bit boring, isn't it? I should add something to this as well.
Yes, you should.
Well, what I would want for, like, in the city within the 10 years is that we have residents that live healthy and rich lives, and where they are aware that tourism has contributed to a rich and lovely life that they live every day, and are happy and curious about the visitors and guests that comes to Gothenburg. And for my own sake, or the role within our organization, this is something that I planned when I got on this function, and that is to be redundant, that this type of function is not needed in destination organizations. So I've always worked for being redundant, or taking myself out of work.
Well, I certainly enjoy working with your redundancy all the time. It's a great pleasure, both of you. There's some really great work on sustainability. You guys have been leading it. I take my hat off to you. I tip my hat to City DNA for making this a primary focus for years and years, having knowledge groups around it and the like. You've inspired a lot of people around the world. I don't know if you know it, you probably are a little humble on that one too, but we talk an awful lot about Gothenburg and Helsinki and what you're doing and what it means, the crucible of what comes next. So thank you very much for both being here. It's a great pleasure to work with both of you, and keep the faith.